Hi, I'm John. This is my show, Orange is the New Black Cards. So this is Meelypops, and I want you to see this thing here that he wears. Okay, so he wears one of those WWJD. So that's what would Jesus do, right? So I guess he thinks he's a Christian and shit, right? So what would Jesus do? Oh, I know what Jesus would do. Jesus would buy a fake case of Pokemon and fake wrap it in a BBC to fake authenticate it, and then he would sell it off for $2.7 million to Shine. Yep, that's Jesus' plan. Right? Oh, praise Jesus for this giving of $2.7 million. Okay, so what I've come to discover in my life, I'm just about to turn 50 years old. And so I've made lots of mistakes in my life, but that doesn't mean I'm a fucking sinner. A sinner means that you knew something was wrong and you did it anyways, okay? That's what he is. He's a real sinner, okay? There's a difference between somebody who makes mistakes in life. Life is hard, we're here to learn from our mistakes. So I've done wrong things, but I feel guilty about it, and I've made myself better because of it. That doesn't negate the wrong things that I've done and the effects of what it's had on other people. But that's because I have negatively affected other people in my life. Then I feel the burden. I carry that burden every day, and the things that I have done wrong in my life, I feel bad about it. I carry a burden of guilt for that, and that's what makes me be a better person. I strive to be a better person because I don't want to cause people pain and shit, right? I don't want to lie to people. I want to just be the best human, be the best I could be, right? Be all I can be and shit, right? Because what can you actually be? We're just humans. We're limited in shit of what we can actually be here and shit, right? So during my life, I'm American, so obviously instantly you're like, the first thing, like some of your first memories as being here an American citizen would be like of Christmas. Those are some of the first memories you can remember. Some of the first television shows that you're going to remember as being an American is some of the Christmas programming and stuff. Those are like some of the first television shows I can remember. And what is Christmas about? It's about the birth of Jesus and shit, right? And like the Santa Claus, he knows when you've been naughty, he knows when you've been nice, so you better fucking be good and shit. The whole story, everything is wrapped around Jesus and like this godly figure. The whole thing is about Jesus, right? So we live in this culture of Jesus here in America. And it's one of these things that if you want to act like you're a good person, you call yourself a Christian, right? So, and that's like, you go through society and there's so much Christian. There's churches everywhere and shit, right? The freaking churches everywhere. You're bombarded instantly with like some of the first memories that you can remember in your life are going to be of Christmas and stuff, which is about the birth of Jesus, all this shit, right? I mean, then you got Easter holiday. It's not like there's just one holiday, then there's another holiday. There's the Easter holiday, which is about like the death of Jesus, I guess, is the death of crucifixion and shit. So, or the resurrection. Exactly. The people get real technical. No. Jesus was crucified, and then he was there for 3 days, and then he was resurrected, and he went to heaven and shit, right? So, to me, I moved past it and stuff, and so, but I grew up and I became a Christian. I read the Bible. I was a Christian. I tried to be the best Christian I could be. And probably during some of the years is probably when I made some of the worst mistakes of my life. It's just so now, no, I absolutely do not consider myself a Christian as in the means of being a worshiper of Christ and shit. I'm totally not a Christian. But I would say I'm part of a Christian society in America that there's a thing about like... there's something about that I would still recognize with that and say, well, we're a Christian society and shit. And because, so as I moved on through life, and like I said, I always had to evaluate, what did I do wrong? Why did I do wrong? How did I get to be this? What are the things? And so it comes to a point where in your life you keep evolving, and there's a point where you get strong enough and you're mentally equipped enough to challenge Jesus. You challenge the notion of Jesus and what is it compared to like what God is and what is the reason we're here on earth, the whole thing and shit, right? You challenge everything. And as I challenged it, the Jesus character did not hold up. It did not hold up to the scrutiny. And because it's simple things, it's like, okay, first of all, God sacrificed his child Jesus for our sins. I'm not a fucking sinner. So so that doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. It's a bullshit. It's bullshit. You're not allowed to call me a fucking sinner. You can say I made mistakes in my life, but you can't call me a sinner, like what I would call Meelypops. Meelypops is a sinner. Meelypops, knowing that about this Jesus stuff, and he's old enough now that he can be classified as a sinner because he knew that when he got that sealed Pokemon case, he knew it was fake. He wrapped it as a deceptive, to be deceptive, and then he sold it off for $2.7 million, and he knew the whole time that he was misleading the whole thing. Now, if it's just a scam internally between all of them, and they're pulling some other scam, so he's thinking, well, nobody's losing money, but it's a breach of the confidence agreement you have with the public. You're lying to the public, and you're doing it intentionally. That is what a real sinner is. You know what you're doing is wrong, but you're doing it anyways. That's a sin, and you're doing it for the purpose of gaining monetary compensation for some kind of bigger picture that's financially gained. That's like as bad as a sin as you could be. Like, that's bad. That's real sins and shit, right? So, but I'm not a sinner. Just because I made mistakes, that helped me develop more and become a better person. I'm not a sinner. A sinner means that you know you're making mistakes and you do it anyways. When I was doing things, I was just stupid. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had to learn from my mistakes to make the mistakes, to see what I did was wrong, and then I bettered myself from it, and I try not to do that shit. I'm not a fucking sinner. So God I ain't benefiting by Jesus being sacrificed. That doesn't mean fucking shit to me. And God, first of all, the whole purpose of us being here as human beings is we're to be out of the presence of God. We're to be out, because if you believe in like God and stuff, and you believe in spirituality, then you would have to ask the question, okay, well, was your spirit created when you were born as a human being, or had your spirit been in existence for a lot longer before that? And I'd say, our spirits were alive for a lot longer. And when I get a better understanding of it, what I see is that we were probably born into the presence of God. But then what happened is when we were born in the presence of God, we had God and shit, right? So we didn't have to develop in the process. Like, think about the process of what you're developing here as a human being on this planet, the things you have to go through. And what's the main thing that you don't know exactly what God is. You don't know exactly why we're here. Okay, well, you're learning. That's what you're actually here learning. And in order for you to learn that, you have to be out of the presence of God. Therefore, God cannot have any assistance. God does not assist us in that kind of way. He would never have a direct assistance like sending down Jesus and then he's going to sacrifice. What kind of God is that? What kind of God is that he'll sacrifice his own child for, like, come on, what kind of bullshit? That's Satan fucking shit. So that's the shit that Satan gets you to, has misled the world, because Satan is like the great deceiver. And how does he deceive you? Is that what these people that do like that is they tell you 99 really quality pieces of information to gain your trust. But the only reason that they're giving you that quality information is because they're trying to gain your trust, because they're trying to slip in the next thing, the Jesus. Worship Jesus. You know, Jesus is your savior. You can't make it to heaven unless you make it through through Jesus and shit, right? So that's the deception. And so what you have to understand is that God would never do any of that stuff. God doesn't work that way. That's not the way God works, and that's not the reason why we're here. Like, you're going to tell me God sent us down here to bow down and worship to Jesus? Come on. That's fucking ridiculous. God sent us down here not to... You think God wants us to worship? You think we're going to go to heaven and we're going to... Oh, you're so great, God. You're so great. Like, just think about yourself as a person. If you want people bowing down and worshiping to you, you're not God. You're disgusting. Well, your purpose in life is to raise those people up, to let them achieve the greatness of what they can achieve, because you want to be enlightened by their fucking life experience and what they're capable of. That's what you want to do. If you're like a father, you want your child to grow up and worship you? Come on. You want your child to go up and achieve the greatest things of what he can achieve, and that's what's going to make you the most happy. If you're any form of a real quality human being and a good father and shit, right? Which that's what God, obviously, God, that's what we think of God and shit, right? So there's no way possible God would say, okay, here, just read this book, this one book, whatever book it is that you read. And so this is another thing that I've come through my discovery, is that all religion is Satan worship. All of it. It's all Satan worship. All religion is Satan worship, because all religion has some kind of entity or deity and shit that they're praising and worshiping that is not God. It's not God. And if you're worshiping any of those, you're worshiping a false god. That's exactly what we're not here to do. We're to learn how to not worship false gods and shit. They're not gods and shit. They're false deities and shit. Whatever they are, they're not the actual God. And if you're worshiping those things, that's like as anti-God as you can be. You're saying, oh, fuck God. I'll just go and worship Jesus. Jesus is not God. And then they cut the scam is, oh, well, he's the son of God. And that's what the people would say. He's the son of God. How do you know that? Who told you that? Oh, the Bible told you that? Well, who in this world, in our existence stuff, would be capable of actually writing the Bible? Because God definitely didn't do it. But who would be do it? Oh, well, Satan. Satan was born into the presence of God. Satan was in the realm of God. Satan knows the teachings of God. That's why Satan, and Satan's been around for billions of years, I think Satan would have the mental capability to be able to write the fucking Bible. I think he's got the time and the mental fucking knowledge and shit to be able to write the Bible. And the whole purpose of the Bible is to get people to follow in his path. Because what's his path about is like this mantra. Oh, praise Jesus. I worship Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. That's like satanic mantra. That's devil worship. You're praising a false god. That's all devil worship. And so, yeah, I would tell you that you should read the Bible, but I would not say that you got to be real careful if you think it's just like a drug. You get hooked on Jesus. It's just like any other drug. And when you tell people you're a drug addict, and when they're involved, when they're in deep in their drug addiction, the last thing they want to hear is you saying they got a drug problem and they've got to change themselves, and make themselves better. That's the last thing they want to hear. Go talk to a Christian and try and explain to them that Jesus is a drug. They're going to act exactly like a drug addict. Exactly, because they're in deep into their addiction and shit. The last thing they want to hear from you is that they've got a problem, that they're addicts, that they're going down the wrong path. That's the last fucking thing they want to hear from you. And that's exactly the way that you'll get the response from these Christians and shit, right? Same fucking thing and shit, right? So that's the thing, is that Satan was in the presence of God, had God's teaching. So there is really good, valid information in the Bible. There is quality information. But if you take all that quality information and it leads you to bow down and worshiping a false god, then you failed. I don't care how good of a person you are. If you're worshiping a false god, that's like a number one rule of what you're not supposed to do here, and what you're supposed to learn and shit, right? You're supposed to learn how to be strengthened as an individual. And that's the thing with me, is like, I already know that people are not going to like all these drug addict Christians and shit. They're not going to like me talking negative about Jesus and saying that actually Jesus, if there was a Jesus, it could only have come through Satan. Satan would be the one who created Jesus. It never could have come from God and shit, right? Because who would sacrifice their child and shit? Satan would do that. Sacrifice. Satan's into sacrificing. That's Satan worship and shit. Who would choose like a special race of people and call them my people, and cause those race of people to perform sacrifices and shit, right? Satan would do that. Satan would do that. And you find out, like, the people, if you understand what I'm talking about, is that those people are all in control of the whole money system too, the whole monetary thing, that those people are really big in control of the monetary shit, right? And it's like, yeah, you people are the children of God, but your God is fucking Satan. Could it be perhaps Satan? Right? So that's the way I see it and shit. Just a quick brief rundown of what I think religion is, and who's actually behind it, and how detrimental it is. Actually, on the bigger picture, it's detrimental. Now, like I said, I know that people are Christians. They're generally they can be, the people that are actually trying to be good Christians, they can be some good people and shit. But when the moment arises for them to pull a scam, like what Meelypops did, they'll pull the fucking scam. Because their actual God is Satan and shit. What they're following is Satan. So their actual deeds of their soul, the nature of their soul, is to fall in line with Satan. And Satan's agenda is through the monetary system throughout the world and shit, is to gain monetary wealth and shit, and then to try and gain friends and shit. And it's like, that's why I don't mind saying shit like this, because I've been through enough shit. I've had my friends, I've had good friends, and I've had good family, and they turned on me. And it's like, well, shit, if my closest friends and my closest family turned on me and never really liked me and never really trusted me, well, then why am I going to trust any of you? Why do I need any of you for friends and shit, right? So you're never going to be like my friend. I'll be friendly to you and shit, but I'm not ever going to trust anybody. Like, for me to trust people, that's probably not going to happen and shit anymore. I don't really trust anybody and shit, right? That's why I make these videos, and it's so easy for me to see the fakery of what's going on in the people, because when you understand how fake people are, then you understand that a person is not telling you the truth. Like, see me, I'm just clearly trying to express the truth of my best understanding and my best ability. I'm trying to express the truth. And so there's a way in which people talk when you can see that they're trying to tell you the truth, right? But then these other people is they're trying to put the picture in your head of what they want you to look at them as. And I can clearly see that when the people are doing that stuff, then I can clearly see, well, if he's lying to me, if he's wanting me to think it this way, well, that's because he doesn't want to see you to see the truth. And then it's this way. That's why I'm so good at, I could see, like, I could watch the media and I can hear what they say. And when they say it this way, it's like, well, if you're wanting me to think this way, then there must be this other thing that's going on that you don't. And that's where I start looking for the quality information. I can decipher now when they tell me the lie, I can figure out the truth through it. You have to get to a higher level of understanding and shit, right? So I wanted to show you this also. This is a page called A Call for an Uprising. Now, A Call for an Uprising, he asks you to challenge everything in the world. He asks you to question everything as can be. But I have conversations with this guy, and I ask him, the one thing, I'll tell him about Jesus, and then he needs to question that, and he refuses to question Jesus. And it's like, okay, so you demand all of us to question everything that's ever gone on in society, but you won't question Jesus, which was the single most thing that they put into your head as early as a kid as you could be. The one thing that you were bombarded with as early as could be and as often as could be that was massively done was the Jesus story. But oh, that one's not fake. Oh, they don't have control of that one. No, that one's the real. Jesus is the real one because God's in control of that. God is not here helping us that way. That's not what God does. So let me just show you the beginning of this Call for an Uprising, how he starts his work off.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
So, okay, there's an awakening happening. What do you mean? People have been believing in Jesus for a long, long fucking time. They've been pushing that fucking story for a couple thousand years now and shit, right? And before that, they were pushing some other kind of religious story. You go to some other country, they've got their own fucking God and shit that they worship. They're all pushing these religious shit, right? So it's like, but not the Jesus one. Oh, that was the one they bombarded you with as quick as they could when you were a kid and shit and got you to, and then you learn that the Santa's fake, that there's not really a Santa. And that's a thing that they mentally did damaged you so that you don't want to not believe. You're like, okay, well, you say, okay, well, I was a sucker. I fell for the Santa Claus story because I was just a kid, right? Then they get you to believe in a Jesus story, and you're like, as an adult, you don't want to feel like you've been duped again, like you were so easily fooled and shit, right? That's part of what makes it so hard for these people to turn away from Jesus and shit, right? But in this video, he says they've been controlling our society since the beginning of time and shit, right? And it's like, oh, but they're not in control of the Christmas. There wasn't, that one, not that one. The one that everybody believes in, no, that's not the one that they're in control of. They're definitely not in control of that shit, right? And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, you get these people talking about like all this conspiracy stuff with like a Call for an Uprising, and a Call for an Uprising makes some very quality videos. But half of what he does is shit and half of what he does is quality and shit. So when it's like 50-50, it's kind of like you just got to be like, now, like me, I'll watch it because I can watch it for entertainment and I'll make my own decisions. But most of the people that watch this stuff are not going to be mentally capable of deciphering between what's the quality and what's the bad information. They're not going to be capable of it. And the Call for an Uprising is, he's got a big name and shit, and he's out there selling his t-shirts and shit and saying, come be a part of my website and shit. And he tries to act like he's not doing it for money, but everything of what he does is related to money. He won't make one of these pages unless it can be monetized and shit, where he can sell t-shirts and where he can endorse his website and shit. He says it's only $2.99 a month. Yeah, but if you've got 100,000 fucking people subscribed to that at $2.99 a month, that's fucking $300,000 a month. You know, I'm sure it doesn't cost that much to run his website and shit. You know, so I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of financial gain for like somebody like a Call for an Uprising and shit, right? And see, like somebody like this, why I personally don't like this, because I got into the truther community because I do my Michael Jackson story, and these people, they're all with like the Illuminati and all the hand symbols, and they're showing like Michael Jackson doing it and all this stuff, right? But I debunked a lot of his work to show him that's like your understanding of who Michael Jackson was, just because he's doing a little hand symbol, you think that's going to add up to the reality of the truth, the real and serious investigation what I've done? And it's like, okay, like in the Bible, one of the commandments is you don't bear false witness against thy neighbor and shit, right? So it's like, dude, a Call for an Uprising went out specifically and made anti-Michael Jackson videos and put these false labelings on him. When I came in and corrected him and showed him there's a larger picture, a much bigger understanding of what's taken place here in Michael Jackson's life, would he ever stand up and say, hey, acknowledge, hey, you know, something I was doing was wrong, because maybe not everything I did was wrong, but at least something was wrong, because there is a much bigger picture to the Michael Jackson story of what an American Scheme, me on my American Scheme page, like he would never acknowledge that, hey, this an American Scheme has done really quality work, he's got real serious evidence and shit, right? And this Michael Jackson story is a bigger picture and it needs to be looked into again on a different level and shit, right? He would never acknowledge that, and it's like, dude, you were the one committing the sins, bearing false witness against your neighbor, but then you wouldn't correct the sin when I came in and showed you the errors of your ways and shit. He will not do that. There's no possible way. He won't do it and shit, right? Just like these guys. He would not pull the scam. Of course he's going to pull the scam. And you think just because he's got on a wristband that says, what would Jesus do? You think he's not going to pull a fucking scam? You think he's not going to be going after the fucking money and the whole system of what the world has? The world tells him, oh, you're a good guy. You can succeed in business and get that money. Get that money. Get that money. You know, that makes you a good guy. It makes you a success. And then just donate a little bit of your money to charity. Oh, and then you're such a good guy. Oh, you know, it's fucking bullshit. Because the nature of the soul of what the guy did when he had a chance to pull a fucking scam for big financial gain, what did he do? He pulled a fucking scam for large financial gain. So it doesn't matter what you think you are as being a Christian or who you think you believe in. If you think you're good, it doesn't matter, because the fucking deeds of your actions prove that you're a Satan worshiper and you're going to follow in the ways of what Satan has laid down in this path for you to follow in on this planet. You're going after the money. You're going after the appearance of trying to look like a good person. That's what you're interested in. You're not interested in being a good person. You're interested in the appearance of being a good person. Just like all these other fucking Christians out here who are really devil worshippers.